The isolation of deep space had a way of making even the most seasoned explorers question their sanity. Dr. Marcus Chen knew this all too well as he stood in the cavernous chamber of the derelict alien vessel, his helmet lights cutting through millennia of darkness. The ship had been drifting in the void between stars for longer than human civilization had existed, yet something about it still hummed with life. His research vessel, the Stellar Horizon, had detected the anomaly 3 weeks ago. What started as a routine survey of an uncharted system had turned into the discovery of a lifetime. The alien ship was massive, easily dwarfing any human vessel, its architecture defying conventional engineering with impossibly graceful curves and biomechanical surfaces. "Status check, Dr. Chen." Captain Rivera's voice crackled through his comm. Marcus adjusted his scanner, watching the readings fluctuate wildly. "Still stable, Captain. But these energy signatures, they're unlike anything in our database. Whatever's powering this ship, it's still active after all this time." He moved deeper into the chamber, his magnetic boots clicking against the metallic floor. The walls were covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift in his peripheral vision, but whenever he looked directly at them, they appeared static. His team had spent days trying to decipher them, but the symbols defied all known linguistic analysis. The chamber's center held what appeared to be a massive stasis pod, its surface covered in a crystalline lattice that pulsed with a faint purple glow. Marcus had saved this section for last, methodically working his way through the ship's other compartments before approaching what he suspected was its heart. "I'm detecting elevated neural activity," he reported, checking his instruments. "Whatever's in there, it's dreaming." "Remember protocol, Doctor," Rivera warned. "No direct contact without." The captain's voice cut off as Marcus's scanner erupted in a cascade of readings. The crystalline surface of the stasis pod began to crack, lines of light spreading across its surface like lightning through glass. Marcus stumbled backward, but his curiosity kept him from fleeing entirely. The pod split open with a sound like breaking ice, releasing a cloud of luminescent particles that swirled through the air. As they cleared, Marcus found himself face to face with something that defied explanation. It was serpentine yet avian, its body covered in scales that shifted colors like oil on water. Wings folded against its sides, made of what appeared to be living metal that flowed and rippled. Its head was adorned with crystalline horns that caught and refracted light in impossible ways. This was no mere alien. This was a dragon straight out of Earth's myths, yet undeniably technological in nature. Its eyes opened, revealing galaxies swirling in their depths. Marcus felt a presence brush against his mind, ancient and vast, curious yet cautious. "You are not what I expected to find at the end of my sleep," a voice echoed in his thoughts. "Your kind is young, but your mind, it sings with questions." Marcus swallowed hard, his scientific training warring with awe. "I'm Dr. Marcus Chen of the research vessel Stellar Horizon. Can you understand me?" "I understand more than your words, Marcus Chen. I see the patterns of your thoughts, the structure of your curiosity. It is familiar." The creature unfolded itself from the pod with liquid grace, its size becoming apparent as it towered over him. "My kind were once like yours, seekers, explorers, dreamers. Before the change." "The change?" Marcus asked, his hand unconsciously reaching for his data tablet to take notes. The dragon's mental voice darkened. "We reached too far, too fast. We tried to force evolution, to become living ships that could traverse the stars without technology's constraints. Some of us succeeded, others." Images flashed through Marcus's mind. War, devastation, entire solar systems reduced to ash. "I chose sleep rather than participate in our extinction. But now," the creature's gaze fixed on him with unsettling intensity, "now I sense an opportunity. Your species stands at a similar crossroads. You could help prevent our mistakes from being repeated." Warning klaxons suddenly blared through Marcus's comm unit. "Doctor, we're detecting multiple ships dropping out of FTL." Rivera's voice was urgent. They're not responding to hails, and their weapons are hot. The dragon's head snapped up, its sensors apparently detecting the same threat. The changed ones. They've found me. They've slept too, waiting, hunting. Its wings began to unfurl, filling the chamber with living metal. You have a choice, Marcus Chen. Run and live, or stay and learn the truth about both our species' destiny. Marcus knew he should follow protocol, return to his ship, file a report. But he had spent his life pursuing knowledge, seeking answers to humanity's biggest questions. Now those answers were right in front of him, even if they came in an impossible form. I choose to stay, he said firmly, disconnecting his comm unit. But I have conditions. The dragon's mental voice held something like amusement. Name them. Complete honesty between us. No manipulation, no hidden agendas. If we're going to prevent history from repeating itself, we need trust. Agreed. And in return, I ask the same. The dragon lowered its head to his level. I am Nexus, last of the Unchanged. Shall we begin? Above them, the first shots of battle lit up the void of space. But in that moment, something new was born. A partnership that would change the course of two species' destinies. The first explosion rocked the ancient vessel, sending tremors through its biomechanical structure. Marcus braced himself against a wall as Nexus's massive form coiled protectively around him, the dragon's living metal wings deflecting debris that rained from the ceiling. They're trying to disable rather than destroy. Nexus's thoughts resonated in Marcus's mind. The changed ones want this ship, and me, intact. Through the vessel's transparent sections, Marcus could see the battle unfolding. The stellar horizon was desperately maneuvering against three larger ships that seemed to be made of the same living metal as Nexus's wings. Their forms shifted and flowed like liquid mercury, adapting to each attack strategy Captain Rivera attempted. Your people, Marcus said, watching the ethereal dance of destruction. The ones who chose to become living ships. Not people anymore, Nexus corrected grimly. The change stripped away everything but the drive to expand, to consume, to perfect. They believed they achieved true evolution. In reality, they lost what made us. Us. Another blast sent them stumbling. Warning lights pulsed along the chamber's walls, and Marcus's suit sensors screamed about hull breaches in multiple sections. The ship, ancient but surprisingly resilient, was beginning to fail. The stellar horizon can't hold them off much longer, Marcus said, checking his tablet's feed. And this ship's defensive systems are offline after millennia of dormancy. We need options. Nexus's crystalline horns glowed as the dragon processed countless calculations. There is one possibility, but you won't like it. I don't like it either. I'm open to anything that doesn't involve getting captured by your evolutionarily superior cousins. We can link, Nexus explained, not just mentally, but completely. Your human consciousness, my ancient knowledge. Your adaptability, my power. Together, we might be able to reactivate this vessel's systems and fight back. Marcus felt his breath catch. You're talking about something more permanent than our current communication. Yes. The changed ones achieved their transformation through force, brutally rewriting their own code. But what if transformation could be achieved through cooperation instead? Voluntary synthesis rather than forced evolution. The ship shuddered again. Through the comm static, Marcus could hear Rivera ordering emergency evacuations. Time was running out. What are the risks? He asked, though he suspected he already knew. Total neural fusion has never been attempted between our species. Best case, we create something new, something neither human nor dragon, but a bridge between both. Worst case, Nexus's mental voice darkened. Our minds shatter, unable to handle the merger. Marcus laughed despite himself, only risking complete psychological destruction. Typical Tuesday for a Xeno researcher. His expression turned serious. But you're right, we need to try something different. Your people tried to force evolution. Humans have our own history of trying to control nature rather than work with it. Maybe it's time for a new approach. Then you accept. Yes, but remember our agreement about honesty. No holding back information, no hidden surprises. We do this as equals. Nexus lowered its massive head until one swirling galaxy eye was level with Marcus's face. As equals, it agreed solemnly. The neural merger began subtly, a warmth at the base of Marcus's skull, a slight pressure behind his eyes. Then reality fractured. He was simultaneously in his human body and experiencing Nexus's vast form. Millennia of memories cascaded through his consciousness. The dragon species at their height, exploring the cosmos with organic technology that blended seamlessly with their bodies. The first warnings ignored as some pushed for faster evolution. The horror of watching friends and family transform into the changed ones, losing their individuality in pursuit of perfection. Through it all, Marcus held on to his own core experiences, childhood wonder at the stars, years of study and exploration, the joy of discovery, the human drive to understand rather than control. These memories became an anchor, preventing total dissolution of his identity as the merger deepened. Nexus's consciousness wrapped around his like a protective wing, and together they reached into the ship's systems. The vessel recognized them, not as separate entities, but as something new. Lights blazed to life throughout the structure. Dormant weapons powered up, their organic targeting systems linking with their shared consciousness. Through the ship's sensors, they perceived the battle with crystalline clarity. The Changed Ones had nearly disabled the stellar horizon, but now they faced a reawakened threat. The ancient vessel's weapons were extensions of their merged will, striking with precision guided by both Marcus's tactical thinking and Nexus's deep knowledge of their opponent's weaknesses. They never expected this. Their shared thoughts resonated. Cooperation rather than domination. Synthesis rather than subjugation. The Changed Ones' liquid metal ships recoiled as the first shots penetrated their adaptive defenses. They had evolved to counter force with force, but the merged consciousness of human and dragon created attack patterns they couldn't predict or counter. Dr. Chen. Rivera's voice crackled through the comm. We're detecting massive energy signatures from the alien vessel. What's happening in there? Marcus/Nexus found it challenging to respond in mere words, their merged consciousness operating on multiple levels simultaneously. We're alive, Captain, Marcus managed, and we're fighting back. Get the horizon to a safe distance. Things are about to get interesting. Indeed, Nexus's thoughts twined with his. This is only the beginning. The Changed Ones will return with reinforcements, and when they do, they'll find something they never imagined. Proof that true evolution comes not from force, but from choice, not from conquest, but from connection. Together, they prepared for the battle ahead, their merged consciousness humming with possibilities neither species had dreamed of alone. The trading outpost on Kepler 186's moon wasn't the kind of place that asked questions, which suited Marcus and Nexus perfectly. Their merged consciousness had learned to maintain separate forms when necessary, though the neural link hummed between them constantly. Marcus sat at a grimy bar, apparently alone, while Nexus's massive form lay camouflaged in a nearby crater, their shared awareness spanning both locations simultaneously. 3 months had passed since their escape from the Changed Ones. The ancient vessel, too damaged to maintain faster-than-light travel, had been abandoned in a gas giant's atmosphere. Now they moved from system to system, staying ahead of both human authorities and their crystalline pursuers. More ships entering the system, Nexus's thoughts rippled through their link. Standard patrol pattern. Human military. Marcus sipped his synthetic alcohol, outwardly calm while their shared consciousness analyzed escape routes. They're getting better at tracking us, he muttered, knowing Nexus would hear. The neural link leaves a unique energy signature. The Changed Ones taught them to look for it, Nexus agreed. An alliance of convenience. Humans fear what we represent, and the Changed Ones want to eliminate any alternative to their path of evolution. Their merged awareness picked up fragments of conversations throughout the bar, most in various trade languages, some in dialects that hadn't existed when Marcus first left Earth. News from the core systems was grim. Reports of more changed ones emerging from dormancy, offering humanity guidance toward their version of perfection. Some human factions embraced the opportunity, eager for technological advancement at any cost. "They're repeating your people's mistakes," Marcus observed, his fingers tracing patterns in the condensation on his glass, rushing toward a transformation they don't understand, while others resist completely, refusing to acknowledge that some form of change is necessary for survival. Nexus's thoughts carried centuries of regret. The extremes tear societies apart, as they did to mine. A new figure entered the bar, moving with the precise efficiency that marked them as military intelligence. Marcus didn't react outwardly, but their shared consciousness tracked every movement, every subtle gesture toward concealed weapons. "3 more by the service entrance," Nexus reported, "and a squad approaching my position. They've improved their stealth technology. Time to test our new trick." Marcus asked silently through their link, "If you're ready." The neural merge is deeper now than during our first battle. The experience will be intense. Marcus stood casually, leaving payment on the bar. Intense is better than captured. They'll either force us apart or hand us over to the changed ones for study. Neither option appeals. He walked toward the back of the bar, timing his movements to coincide with a rowdy group of asteroid miners. Their shared consciousness calculated trajectories, wind patterns, structural weak points in the building's architecture. What they planned shouldn't have been possible, a human consciousness inhabiting a dragon's form, even temporarily. But their merger had evolved beyond its initial limitations. The intelligence operative made her move, speaking into a concealed comm unit. Marcus felt the neural link surge as Nexus's form shifted, living metal scales rippling as they prepared for transfer. The process had nearly killed them the first time they attempted it, but necessity had proven an excellent teacher. Time seemed to slow as Marcus let go of his physical form, his consciousness flowing through the link into Nexus's vastly different body. Simultaneously, Nexus's awareness compressed, inhabiting Marcus's human shell with centuries of practiced control. In the space between heartbeats, they switched. The operative's eyes widened as Marcus moved with impossible speed and grace, evading the squad that burst through the service entrance. Meanwhile, a seemingly dormant dragon suddenly launched skyward, its movements bearing the hallmark precision of human tactical training. Their shared consciousness maintained the connection through the chaos that followed. Marcus reveled in the power of Nexus's form, wings cutting through atmosphere as he engaged the military ships that emerged from hiding. The dragon's weapons were extensions of his will, guided by both his human combat instincts and Nexus's deep understanding of their capabilities. Below, Nexus wielded Marcus's human form like a master artist, using his smaller size and the crowded environment to evade capture. Their pursuers had prepared for either a human or a dragon. They hadn't anticipated targets that could think and move like both simultaneously. "They're adapting," Nexus observed through their link as military ships attempted to predict their attack patterns. "We need to end this quickly. The consciousness transfer has time limits." "Agreed," Marcus thought back, feeling the strain of maintaining control over the dragon's complex systems, ready for the final gambit. Always. They moved in perfect synchronization, their two forms converging on a precise point in space. At the last possible moment, they switched back, consciousness snapping into their original bodies like rubber bands released from tension. The maneuver left their pursuers firing at empty space while they slipped away through a maintenance tunnel Nexus had identified in the outpost's aging infrastructure. Hours later, safely hidden in an abandoned mining complex, they'd processed the experience through their shared awareness. The consciousness transfers were becoming smoother, but each one changed them in subtle ways. Marcus found himself thinking in the vast timescales natural to Nexus's species, while the dragon experienced human emotions with increasing intensity. "We're becoming something new," Nexus mused. "Neither fully human nor fully dragon." "Is that what you intended when you suggested the neural link?" Marcus asked, though their merged consciousness meant he already suspected the answer. I intended survival, Nexus admitted. But this is evolution of a kind my people never imagined. Voluntary, cooperative, maintaining individuality while achieving synthesis. And that's exactly why they're hunting us, Marcus concluded. We're proof that there's another way, a threat to everything the Changed Ones believe about progress and perfection. Indeed, but we've learned something crucial today. Nexus's thoughts held a fierce pride. We're no longer merely fleeing. We're learning to fight back. Their shared consciousness extended through the mining complex, keeping watch while they rested and repaired. Both knew the reprieve was temporary. Their pursuers would adapt, develop new tactics, find better ways to track them. But with each encounter, each escape, each conscious transfer, they were adapting too. The question was, what would they ultimately become? The asteroid belt of HD 40,307 was a graveyard of abandoned mining stations and derelict ships, perfect cover for those who wished to remain hidden. Within the hollowed-out core of a massive asteroid, Marcus and Nexus had found something unexpected. They weren't alone. The Changed Ones approached our colony 6 months ago, Dr. Sarah Paddle explained, her holographic form flickering in the makeshift command center. They offered to upgrade our neural interfaces, claiming it would help us better control our mining operations. Those who refused were labeled dissidents. Around the room, similar stories emerged from a dozen hidden colonies and research outposts. Some were human, others were members of spacefaring species that had their own encounters with the Changed Ones. All had recognized the threat of forced evolution and chosen to resist. They followed the same pattern Nexus observed through their link. Approach struggling colonies, offer technological solutions, begin the transformation process before anyone realizes the true cost. Like a virus, Marcus added aloud, for the benefit of their audience. It adapts its approach based on each society's vulnerabilities. Their merged consciousness processed the implications faster than either could alone, seeing patterns in the data their allies had gathered. A figure stepped forward from the shadows, Captain Rivera, who had tracked them down not to capture, but to warn them. The Changed Ones have infiltrated the highest levels of Earth's government, she reported grimly. They're pushing for mandatory neural augmentation of all space-based personnel. For safety, they claim. How long? Marcus asked, though their shared consciousness was already calculating probable timeframes. 6 months, maybe less, before the legislation passes. Once it does, Rivera let the implications hang in the air. They're moving faster now. Nexus's thoughts rippled with concern. Our existence has forced them to accelerate their plans. The Changed Ones fear others will discover what we have. That synthesis is possible without losing oneself. The assembled resistance leaders watched in fascination as Marcus and Nexus demonstrated their consciousness transfer ability. For many, it was their first time seeing proof that human and alien minds could merge without the loss of identity that marked the Changed Ones' transformations. Your neural link, Dr. Patil observed, it's completely different from what the Changed Ones use. Organic rather than forced, adaptive rather than rigid. How? Marcus felt Nexus's consciousness shift through their memories of the first merger. We chose it, he explained. Every step, every deepening of the connection, was a mutual decision. The Changed Ones try to impose their version of perfection. We're exploring possibilities together. And that is why they fear us, Nexus added, their thoughts broadcast through the modified communications array they'd developed. The Changed Ones believe control is necessary for evolution. We proved that partnership is more powerful than dominance. A new hologram appeared. Tactical data from resistance cells across multiple systems. The Changed Ones were gathering their forces, preparing for a massive push to implement their transformation protocols across human space. We've identified their primary consciousness hub, Rivera announced, highlighting a location deep in unexplored space. It's where they coordinate their collective intelligence, store their accumulated knowledge. If we could access it, We could expose the truth about their failures, Nexus realized. Show others what really happens to societies that accept their guidance. But it's suicide, one of the resistance leaders objected. Their defenses are layered, adaptive. No normal ship could get close, let alone penetrate their security. Marcus and Nexus shared a moment of perfect understanding through their link. "We're not normal," Marcus said quietly. "Our merged consciousness can interface with their systems in ways they won't expect. We can show them something they've never seen. Evolution through cooperation rather than conquest." The plan that emerged was audacious. While the resistance forces would launch coordinated strikes to distract the Changed One's military assets, Marcus and Nexus would attempt to penetrate the consciousness hub itself. Their unique neural link might allow them to bypass security systems designed to resist either human or dragon interference, but not both simultaneously. "You realize," Rivera said privately after the others had left to prepare, "that even if you succeed, this changes everything. Humanity isn't ready for the kind of transformation you represent." "Humanity is already changing," Nexus responded. "The question is not whether to evolve, but how. Through force or choice, through domination or cooperation." Marcus felt the weight of centuries through their link. Nexus's memories of watching their own civilization face similar questions. "Maybe that's why we found each other," he suggested, "to show both our species another path." Their shared consciousness extended through the asteroid base, monitoring preparations through countless sensors and cameras. The resistance members were an unlikely collection of species and backgrounds, united by a common understanding. True progress couldn't be forced. "It will not be easy," Nexus mused. "The Changed Ones have had millennia to perfect their methods. They believe absolutely in their path." "Good thing we're stubborn," Marcus replied with a grim smile. "Humans are good at beating impossible odds, and your people clearly don't know when to quit either." Their merged awareness hummed with shared purpose as they began final preparations. The consciousness hub was the most heavily defended location in known space, a fortress of living metal and crystalline computing arrays that had never been breached. But it had never faced anything like them before. A human and dragon consciousness working in perfect harmony, their very existence a challenge to everything the Changed Ones believed about evolution and progress. As they watched their unlikely allies prepare for battle, they felt something new emerging through their neural link. Hope. The resistance they'd gathered wasn't just fighting against the Changed Ones' vision of the future. They were fighting for the right of all species to choose their own path forward, to evolve through cooperation rather than coercion. It was a war not just for survival, but for the very nature of progress itself. The consciousness hub of the Changed Ones hung in space like a dark star, its crystalline surface absorbing rather than reflecting light. As Marcus and Nexus approached in their modified vessel, their merged consciousness could sense the vast neural network pulsing within. The combined knowledge and will of countless transformed beings, all bent toward a single vision of perfection. The resistance fleet had drawn away most of the hub's defenders, their coordinated attacks across multiple systems, forcing the Changed Ones to divide their forces. But both Marcus and Nexus knew that the hub's internal defenses would be more than enough to destroy them if they made a single mistake. "They're scanning us," Nexus observed through their link, "trying to classify our merged neural pattern." "Let them look," Marcus replied, their shared consciousness already adapting, shifting between patterns faster than the Changed One's systems could analyze. "They've never seen anything like us before." The hub's outer defenses activated, crystalline weapons sprouting from the surface like growing fractals, each one targeting their approach vector. But Marcus and Nexus were ready. Their consciousness flowed between their forms in rapid succession, each transfer making them harder to track. One moment they were a dragon banking through weapon fire with human tactical precision. The next a human form piloting with a dragon's ancient knowledge of stellar warfare. "The resistance teams are in position," Nexus reported, monitoring the encrypted communications. "They're ready to broadcast whatever we find to every system in range." They had almost reached the hub's surface when everything changed. The crystalline weapons froze, and a vast consciousness pressed against their merged awareness, ancient, powerful, and fractured. We HAVB individuating for you. The changed ones spoke directly into their shared mind. You represent an interesting aberration, an evolutionary dead end. Images flooded their neural link. The changed one's version of history, showing their transformation from Nexus's original species into beings of pure energy and crystal, free from the constraints of flesh and individual consciousness. They believed they had achieved perfection and now sought to guide other species toward the same transcendent state. You didn't achieve perfection, Nexus responded, their shared consciousness recognizing the fundamental flaw in the changed one's evolution. You achieved stasis. True evolution requires growth, change, the unexpected. You've locked yourselves into a single path. The changed one's collective consciousness rippled with something like amusement. We AAVG2RODNB1DPENED for CAKOS. We OFFER or DR. Purpose. UNIT. Unity without choice isn't evolution, Marcus argued. It's extinction. Their small ship landed on the hub's surface, living metal merging with crystal. As they prepared for their riskiest consciousness transfer yet, Marcus and Nexus felt the full weight of the changed one's attention focus on them. You cannot stop the inevitable, the collective declared. All species seek pure fake. We nemioreloi ACCLERATE puro CS. Now, Nexus signaled through their link, while they're focused on rhetoric rather than defense. Their merged consciousness surged through the hub's crystalline networks, neither fully human nor dragon but something new. Adaptive, unpredictable, alive in a way the changed ones had forgotten could exist. Where the collective expected resistance, they offered cooperation. Where it sought to dominate, they chose to understand. The changed one's defenses, designed to repel forced intrusion, couldn't cope with their approach. Marcus's human creativity combined with Nexus's ancient knowledge allowed them to flow through the crystalline pathways like water through stone, seeking the core of the collective consciousness. What are you doing? The collective's voice held something new. Uncertainty. Showing you what you've forgotten. Marcus replied as their merged consciousness reached the hub's central archive. Evolution isn't about reaching a final perfect state. It's about endless possibility. Through their neural link, they began broadcasting the truth to both the resistance fleet and the changed ones themselves. Not just the historical records of forced transformations and lost civilizations, but the living proof of their own existence. Two minds working in harmony without sacrificing identity, growing stronger through choice rather than coercion. The changed one's collective consciousness reeled as memories long suppressed broke through their crystalline perfection. They had been so focused on their goal of transcending physical form that they had forgotten why they began their journey of evolution in the first place. Curiosity, discovery, the joy of finding new ways to understand the universe. You don't have to remain locked in stasis, Nexus offered as cracks appeared in the collective's unity. There are other paths, better ways to grow. Your way isn't the only way forward, Marcus added. Look at us. We're not perfect. We're not even finished becoming whatever we're going to be. But we're alive. Really alive, not just existing in a crystalline dream of perfection. The hub's structure began to shift as the changed one's collective consciousness fractured, not violently, but like ice breaking up in spring. Some remained committed to their path of forced evolution, but others, awakened to the possibility of choice, began to emerge from their self-imposed stasis. Warning. Conscious dive or GNCDETCTED. The hub's systems announced as more and more of the collective chose to question their path. Neural cohesion failing. Through their link, Marcus and Nexus felt the moment the balance tipped. The Changed One's unified consciousness, maintained for millennia through rigid control, dissolved into countless individual awarenesses. Some remained crystalline beings of pure thought, but others began to explore new forms, new ways of existing. Their awakening, Nexus observed with wonder, choosing to evolve again, but this time through their own will. The Resistance fleet reported similar changes across human space as the Changed One's influence wavered. Their forced evolution protocols, dependent on absolute certainty in their path, began to break down in the face of proof that other options existed. As they prepared to leave the hub, Marcus and Nexus felt a final message from the Awakened Ones. Perhaps purification is not a destination, but a journey. That's the most human thing I've ever heard a crystalline hive mind say, Marcus commented through their link, drawing a ripple of amusement from Nexus's consciousness. And the most dragon-like, Nexus added, the desire to keep growing, keep changing. It unites all living things if they're brave enough to embrace it. Their shared awareness extended outward, sensing the changes already spreading through both human and Changed One space. The future was uncertain. Evolution always was, but now it would be shaped by choice rather than coercion, by cooperation rather than control. They had proven that progress didn't require the sacrifice of self, that evolution could come through partnership rather than force. As their ship rejoined the Resistance fleet, Marcus and Nexus felt their neural link pulse with new possibilities. They weren't just survivors anymore. They were pioneers, living proof that the path forward lay not in perfect unity or rigid individuality, but in the endless dance between the two. The stars stretched out before them, filled with civilizations awakening to new choices, new ways of growing. And somewhere in that vast expanse, their next evolution awaited. Not as human, not as dragon, but as something wonderfully, impossibly new.